Chapter 486. She saw with her own eyes that Nash had even dared to hit Kai Watson. Clark might be the vice president of Innovate Collective, but compared to Kai, he was nothing significant. Nash said with a smile, "The more you pay attention to such trash, the more spirited they become." He suffered a loss today and could only find satisfaction in his words. Hira pouted, "But the insults he hurled at you were really nasty." Nash laughed off the comment. "I didn't actually get hurt from his insults, did I? I even managed to hurt his face. He's the one who lost." Hira thought of what Nash had said to ridicule Clark just now and grinned. "You're pretty good with your words, aren't you? It's my first time seeing you like that." He was quite upset just now. Nash chuckled meaningfully. "My mouth's much more capable of something other than talking. Do you want to try it out tonight?" "Why not now?" Hira looked at Nash's slender lips and pressed her own against them directly. The group of security guards watched on, dumbstruck by this. The security manager started chasing them away like FLIs. "Go on. Go. Get back to what you were doing." The secretary turned her head away as well. She truly envied these passionate couples, and even more so those who could express their love so freely. She wondered when she would say goodbye to her single life. She had not even had her first kiss yet. Nash embraced Hira, and they kissed obliviously as their bodies were pressed tightly together. Things grew hotter by the second. It was only when Hira sensed something awry that she pushed Nash away. Her face was flushed as she scolded with faint anger. "You bad boy. What are you thinking?" Nash showed an embarrassed smile. "Isn't this a normal reaction for a man?" With her face and ears red, Hira lowered her head. "I need to get busy now. Didn't you get a job at Universal Group? Hurry over." Nash slapped his forehead after hearing Hira's reminder. "How could I have forgotten that? I'm going off right now." He had promised Fabian the day before. He could not just go back on his word. Fabian was still overseeing the overall matters at Universal Group. Hira escorted Nash to the elevator, wiped the lipstick from the corner of his mouth, and handed him her car keys. "Take my car." Nash accepted the keys, gave Hira a fierce kiss on the lips, and then calmly stepped into the elevator. Passing office workers covered their mouths and giggled. HR glared at Nash somewhat angrily. However, Nash had already closed the elevator door with a grin. Upon arriving at the parking lot, he found Hira's Maserati and settled into the driver's seat. Just as he started the engine, three familiar figures approached the car. Clark tapped on the window. Nash rolled down the window, frowning. "What do you want?" Clark sized up the Maserati and asked his companion, "Is this Hira Lewis' car?" "Yes, Mr. Camp." The person beside him responded with a sneer. A smirk crept up Clark's face. "So you got your position as the guard dog by being a kept man as well, huh?" Nash's face showed slight embarrassment. "You could see that too, huh?" Clark laughed heartily. "I thought you were somewhat more capable, but you're just a freeloader as well, aren't you?" Nash's face showed a mischievous smile. "Oh, so you're also admitting that you got to your position by climbing onto some 40-year-old lady?" Clark's smile visibly stiffened, and his two companions looked at him curiously. They had thought the young man was just joking to smear Clark's name. Yet earlier, Clark had said the words as well. Could it be that Mr. Camp had really risen to his position through the president? "Mr. Camp, shouldn't you still be a little more choosy when picking who you're living off? I get to embrace a woman as beautiful as a flower every day, sleep with her, and have pocket money to spend. I'm willing to be kept for a lifetime. Can you sleep peacefully while hugging a 40-year-old cougar? You don't have mommy issues, do you?" Nash became more enthusiastic as he talked, even starting to bring relatives into the conversation. Clark's face was already utterly flushed with anger. He would have attacked if it were someone else by now. Yet the man in front of him was a martial artist, and his strength far exceeded Clark's. Engaging him in a fight would only lead to loss. However, that did not matter. His uncle was a grand master after all. Chapter 487. When it was time, he would invite his uncle to appear, and he would make this young man kneel down and beg for mercy. "Why aren't you saying anything, Mr. Camp? You're not thinking about hitting me, are you, Mr. Camp? You can't beat me verbally or physically. Where do you find the courage to be arrogant in front of me?" Nash laughed brilliantly. He loved it when people wanted to hit him but did not have the guts to do it. Clark stared angrily with his fists clenched tightly. His face turned as red as a gas tank about to explode. The angrier he got, the happier Nash felt. He suddenly realized that using his mouth was more fun than using his fists. Of course, mouthing off was only possible when backed by absolute strength. Without strength, all you would get was a beating anyway. Clark sneered in his fury. Very well. I hope you can still laugh in 3 days. His uncle was currently on a business trip abroad and would not be back for about half a month. Originally, he had planned to cause trouble for this brat in half a month, but now he could not wait any longer. He decided to call his uncle as soon as he got back. I'm ready anytime. Nash's lips curled into a wicked smile. Then, he drove away from Baroque. Clark took a deep breath. His face was dark as he walked to his own car. Meanwhile, Nash received a call from Yasmin as soon as he left Baroque. Yasmin? Nash, there's a bit of trouble at the company. Can you come over? Yasmin said tremblingly. Where are Queenie and Sydney? Nash asked with a frown. They have exams today, so their phones are switched off. All right. I'll be right over. Nash hung up the phone and floored the accelerator, causing the engine to roar like a beast. At the Long Lake Industrial Zone, there was a change from its usual tranquility. 8 vans were parked at the entrance of the industrial zone. The security, Old Holt, had been beaten black and blue. 3 middle-aged men had him pinned to the ground. More than 20 young men blocked the entrance, and their presence was intimidating. You bunch of punks. If you've got the guts, fight me one-on-one. Bullying an old man like me and ganging up on me. What does this make you people? Old Holt's words were slurred. He had the strength of a grandmaster. Dealing with these hooligans would not have been a problem, even if there were 20 of them. However, the other party had brought 3 grandmasters with them. Tiesk! A tall and burly man spat out a mouthful of blood and muttered, "The old man still has some skills." He then took out a dagger from behind, saying, "If I don't make you bleed today, you won't know how to behave yourself." He had been with Black Tiger for over 10 years and had never suffered a loss. Today, he had a tooth knocked out by an old man. This was unacceptable. He had to make the old man get a taste of his own medicine. Dave, this old guy is Jupiter Holt's dad. Maybe we shouldn't escalate this any further. A skinny, sly-looking youth quickly approached and grabbed the burly man's arm. The burly man's name was David. He was the second in command of Black Tiger Hall, and he possessed the strength of a stage 5 of the energy cultivation realm. Today, they had come to collect management fees from the Long Lake Industrial Zone. In the past few years, Mr. Jamerson, the ex-owner of the Long Lake Industrial Zone, used to send the money over every month. Yet now, they had missed over 3 months of payment, totaling over $6 million. David had sent someone to see Mr. Jamerson a few days ago, but they were stopped by the security. Today, he came in person, but even with his strength at stage 5 of the energy cultivation realm, he could not defeat this old man. Jupiter Holt's dad? David pressed the tip of his tongue against the wound on his cheek and said indifferently, "Then I'll spare his worthless life. You guys go in and look for Mr. Jamerson." Chapter 488. And also call the others, David added. A group of people swaggered into the Long Lake Industrial Zone. Inside the Southern Heavens Pharmaceuticals Factory Hall, located in the 7th unit, the office had already been seized by David's men. Just after making the call, Yasmin was discovered. A young man with dyed blonde hair snatched Yasmin's phone and backhanded her across the face. "Stupid woman. You had another phone. Did you call the police?" After taking control of the office, he had confiscated Yasmin's phone. She had managed to make another call when he went to the bathroom. Yasmin's delicate face instantly swelled red. Her lips split open, and blood flowed freely. Holding her face, tears fell, but she remained silent. She only stared at Canary with resentment. "What are you staring at? Keep staring and I'll have my way with you." Canary was flipping through the chat history while threatening her menacingly. The most recent call log was marked as NC. Canary asked coldly, "Who's this NC?" Yasmin gritted her teeth and retorted, "Someone you can't afford to offend." Canary laughed. "Can't afford to offend?" In Johnford, Aside from a handful in the political sphere and the 5 elite families, who else can't we afford to offend? Black Tiger Hall's strength was immense. With the decline of the Green Bamboo Association, the Black Tiger Hall could almost disregard the other 2 underworld forces. Well, there was one more person. Nash Calcraft. Mr. Black had strictly warned them that he was the one person they must never offend. He was reportedly the same person who had wiped out the Green Bamboo Association. It did not cross his mind that the NC in Yasmin's phone was that Nash Calcraft. This small pharmaceutical factory had only just started hiring. They had yet to exceed 3 employees. It was unlikely that the person in charge would know that Nash. Yasmin spoke with indignation. Then just wait and see. Nash would arrive. Once he did, none of these people could escape. Then, Canary looked at Yasmin from top to bottom. She was fair, slim, and pretty far better looking than the women in the clubs. Most importantly, she was clean. There was no need for precautions. Ha, no worries. I'll wait with you. But before that, we can do something else. Canary tossed the phone aside and pounced on her. Yasmin's heart was in tatters. She turned to run, but Canary grabbed her collar and flung her onto a nearby sofa. He licked his cracked lips and pounced on her, tearing at Yasmin's clothes. Yasmin, being a fragile woman, was no match for him. In just moments, Canary had ripped off her jacket. As Canary bit down toward Yasmin's neck, he began to tear at her inner shirt. Knowing she could not resist Canary, Yasmin quickly pleaded, Wait a moment. I can't wait any longer." Canary's eyes were fervent, his desire causing his blood to boil. I'm on my period." Yasmin put her hand up to block Canary's mouth. Canary laughed loudly. "No worries. You're still a virgin after all. It's going to be bloody anyway." After having countless women, he had already discerned that Yasmin was still a virgin. Yasmin, filled with despair and with tears in her eyes, said, Then could you at least close the door?" All she could do now was try to buy time. Canary glanced back and saw several of his lackeys leering at him. "What are you staring at? Wait till I'm done here, then it's your turn to have fun." Chapter 489. Quickly, close the door. The underlings outside immediately moved to shut the door. Canary's face once again broke into a smile, and he leaned in to kiss Yasmin once more. "Wait." Yasmin blocked Canary's mouth again. Canary grew somewhat impatient, saying, "What now? My patience has its limits." Yasmin said softly, "This place isn't very convenient. Let's go somewhere else." What a waste of time. With a rip, Canary tore Yasmin's shirt apart. The sight of her fair skin made Canary's mouth go dry. So supple. Laughing, Canary was about to remove Yasmin's last piece of intimate clothing. Desperate, Yasmin took advantage of Canary's unguarded moment and kneed him sharply in the groin. Ow! Canary immediately collapsed on the ground, howling in pain. Yasmin grabbed an ashtray from the coffee table and smashed it hard on Canary's head. "Agh! Ouch! How dare you hit me?" Wounded in the groin, Canary was experiencing excruciating pain. He had no strength to fight back. Outside, his several henchmen were chatting, smoking, and laughing at the sounds coming from the office. "Wow, as expected of Canary, he likes it rough. Can't deny it. That woman's pretty juicy looking. She must feel great. Let's test her out after he's done, shall we? Mr. David is here." They all promptly dropped their cigarettes and greeted Mr. David. David, being a martial artist, had already heard the men's howling from the office. He kicked the door open and saw a woman, wearing only a bra and jeans, smashing an ashtray on Canary's head. Canary was bleeding profusely. He was unconscious while holding his groin. Canary's henchmen were dumbfounded. Their boss had been taken down by a woman? Even though he had become weak from indulgence, he was still a man. Surely his body was not that frail? Seeing so many people outside, Yasmin immediately dropped the ashtray and ran to the window. She had thought of jumping when Canary had gone to the restroom. However, this was the 3rd floor, and the factory buildings were much taller than residential floors. She was probably around 20 meters to the ground. The ground was cement. If she jumped, she would surely break some bones. That was why she had hesitated. Yet now that she had made one of them bleed, they would surely not let her go. Even a broken bone was better than falling into their hands. With this thought, Yasmin closed her eyes and leaped out. Feeling the wind whistle past her ears and the sensation of weightlessness, Yasmin's face was ashen. She started to wonder how long she would have to lie in the hospital after this. Yasmin fell straight from a height of 20 meters. She braced for the severe pain of impact, but it never happened. It felt like she had fallen into someone's arms. Could it be Nash? She abruptly opened her eyes, and the face that greeted her bore a sleazy smile. Finn, didn't you guys leave? The company had been very busy, and earlier in the morning, Melody and Finn, along with Heidi and her own brother, had come over to help out. Just half an hour after they left, this group of people arrived. Finn's eyes were fixed intently on the delicate and fragrant body in his arms. He was constantly swallowing his saliva. She was so beautiful. The feeling on his hands was incredibly soft and tender. Yasmin's face turned a slight shade of red, her hands covering her chest. She looked down and said, "Finn, could you put me down, please?" Chapter 490. Finn regained his composure and gently placed Yasmin on the ground, his face flushing red. He quickly explained, "Melody took us to Cloud Peak Palace Hotel for a visit. Then we received a call from Mr. Nash and heard that there was trouble here, so I rushed over immediately." At this moment, Melody arrived with Derek, Ken, and Heidi in tow. Derek was seething with anger as he rushed forward. "Those bastards, they're asking for it." As he ran, he took off the brand new suit jacket he had just bought. When he came to Yasmin's side, he quickly wrapped his sister's body with the jacket. Then, he picked up a broken piece of brick and headed upstairs. "Ken, you go up too and protect Derek." Finn quickly instructed Ken, who nodded and followed Derek closely. Finn continued to watch Yasmin, whose face was now crimson red. He suddenly felt an urge to start dating her. "Yasmin, are you okay?" Heidi rushed over, her voice filled with concern. Yasmin shook her head. "I'm okay." "Weren't you afraid of breaking your legs?" If he had not arrived in time, she might have been seriously injured. Yasmin lowered her head. "Thank you, Finn." Finn chuckled. "You're welcome. No need to be so polite with me." Sounds of a fight could be heard from upstairs. Then, Melody whispered, "Finn, you should go up and check as well. The security guard just said there are 3 grandmasters among them." Finn straightened his posture and looked at Melody indifferently. "Are you giving me orders?" Both of them were Mr. Nash's subordinates. Why should he listen to her? Melody crossed her arms, her eyes squinting as her aura from the profound reality realm began to build up. Finn grinned. "Of course, I'll listen to a beautiful lady. I'll go up now." Well, he had to listen to her. She was more powerful. Nash parked his car at the entrance. That was when he saw there were people lying all over the entrance. Old Holt was holding his waist while talking on the phone with his son. "Jup, come over quickly. Remember to bring more people." "All right, Dad. Don't try to act tough. I'll bring people over right away. These people are simply lawless." Jupiter was furious, going to the Long Lake Industrial Zone with so many people in broad daylight. If word got out, what would people think of the inspection office? Just as he finished speaking, he could hear Nash's voice saying, "Chief Holt, you can leave this matter to me." Old Holt turned his head and glanced at Nash. "Why is it you again, kid? These are people from the Black Tiger Hall. Can you handle them? Young people always want to show off." "Jap, don't listen to him. Bring more people over quickly, and if things get tough, apply for Henderson's troops too." Old Holt looked at Nash with a bewildered expression. Jupiter said, "Dad, he's the Nash I told you about." "What?" Old Holt was stunned. His son had told him about a sworn brother of the Warden of the Northern Territory whose name was Nash Calcraft. The Warden of the Northern Territory was already in his 40s, so Nash, his sworn brother, should be at least in his 30s or 42nd, right? How could he be so young? Old Holt asked in a low voice. "So how do you plan to handle this?" Jupiter smiled. "Mr. Calcraft will handle it. Let him deal with it. He can handle such things much more easily than us." After hanging up the phone, Old Holt no longer held the same contempt for Nash. Nash smiled faintly. "Mr. Holt, may I go in?" Old Holt chuckled. "Of course, little Nash. Please come in. The entire Long Lake industrial zone had been bought by the Zell family, and this person was also Sydney's friend. Of course, he was allowed to enter. Furthermore, Old Hope now knew his other identity. The Warden of the Northern Territory was a revered war god, after all.